That's pretty cool. I mean, just a slightly different tangent from that. For example, for the game that we did just now, we use actors that normally would never look at games as an avenue for what they want to do. The narrator of the game is Linda Hunt, and I don't know if you know who Linda Hunt is, but she's an amazing actress. I was a fan of hers, back during when she was in Silverado. All those movies that I've seen as a kid, I see her now in the recording booth, and she is one of the most amazing voice actors that I've ever seen. But I would tell you, 5-10 years ago, I don't think any of those actors would ever look at the gaming industry as being something they want to do. But God of War, in the last God of War, we had, I think Sony had Christopher Lee in their God of War 3 game. They had Christopher Lee playing playing Zeus. They had is it Larry Hamlin, the person who was in Clash of the Titans? He reprised his role as Perseus in the last game. We have Tobey Maguire playing himself in Spider-Man. All of these people actually are finding ways of actually expanding their knowledge and also their art by choosing games. And in Europe, it's the same thing right now. I mean, we get great actors in Europe to do some of the stuff that we've seen. And yeah, you're right. It's an industry on its own now creating itself, because we can only hope that one day or the other, every language is going to be available for every game that we do. It should be pretty cool for us too. Not yet. I think one of the things that we're missing, and it's something that we also have to be proactive about, is that our audience is still a hardcore audience. And those guys don't want to play a game and have ancillary things happening all around the place. They don't want to have an ad actually pop up. If it's an ad in game, absolutely, they'll be fine. But if it's outside of that realm, they just want to sit on their couch, play the game. And that's kind of what the beast we've created in some ways. I think as those people start migrating, I think all of those things will come with it. It's an interest that companies like AdMob and all that are taking. I'm sure, like already in gaming, they're probably going to want that same kind of involvement in bigger games, in high budget games. And I think especially with the way budgets are going nowadays, I mean, games can cost anywhere from like a small game costing $500,000 to a big game costing $100 million. So you find your balance between what you want to do. But when you make an investment of $100 million on a game, you have to somehow hedge your bets. You need to have other avenues to have that income come in. Now I think nowadays the biggest blockbusters are always going to be above $30 million. You can't make a game for less than that now on PS3 and 360. Knowing that, you have to, one way or the other in the future, find a way for that revenue to come in, with the games costing the way as much as they do, with the other problems we're dealing with, which I'll quickly touch on that. But the problems that the game industry is dealing with right now that I don't know how we're going to solve is the retail market and the piracy that we have. Piracy is killing this industry. There's developers going out of business purely because if you don't make your royalties to be able to pay your guys, you're not going to be able to sustain yourself. And the more games get pirated, the less you're able to do that kind of stuff. Second thing is used games. GameStop has that whole business going on. The game industry doesn't see a dime of that happening, but your one game now is sold to 10 different people, 20 different people. It was funny, the CEO of GameStop one day at a conference was trying to explain to us how good it was for us that he could resell games. And I can tell you, there were people with knives out that day. I mean, I don't think he'll ever speak at a game conference again, because I think it's an extremely stupid thing to say to the people who are making money for you and giving you games, to tell them that reselling your game 10 times and you making profits, it's very good for you. That's the reason why. The more we have those hurdles, the more we'll need other ways to basically make incomes. And advertising is the number one in the list, I think. Well, yeah, actually, unfortunately, right now, everything we do is pretty much outside Orange County. Voice recording happens in LA at the same studios that movie studios use. Even the first PR firm that we had used actually was out, I think, in Santa Monica, I believe. And that's, again, through contacts. It was just purely because, we went around and through contacts got to those people. Quality assurance happens in San Diego through Sony, of course. Localization actually is all around the place. Some happen, I think, in San Diego, some in Foster City with Sony, the rest in Europe, of course, with the different places. But right now, unfortunately, there's not a single thing that we do outside of making the game here. We, as much as possible, try to create the trend, but at the same time, we have to keep in mind who the buyer is going to be. It's always a risky thing when you spend that kind of money to take a risk on a game because it's going to create a new trend. It's I'll give you the best example of one of the most successful games, World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft is really successful, but Blizzard would have never taken the chance to create that. EverQuest was there before. They took something that was there and made it pretty much as good as it could get. Every game that Blizzard has made in the past has been that. Something existing that's made better. We kind of follow the same path. We try to take things that are already there. But one big thing in our industry is there's a saying when making games, it's 80% tried and true, 20% inspiration, or novel things. So you try to make sure that you appease the people who are going to buy your game, but at the same time give them something new. The way we look at it is really we look at ourselves. We're gamers. We look at what we would want to play in 2-3 years from now, and we tell ourselves, okay, would that be a cool game? What am I playing now? What would I want to play in 3 years? And try to pick a game that would fit our needs as much as the public's needs. That's something, luckily enough for us, it's something we don't have to do, the publishers do. And it's interesting because a lot of publishers have started doing that more and more. A lot of them go out and seek out the public and ask them, gamers and non-gamers, what they expect, what they want, what they would want in the future. The second thing that helps us a lot is every time we make a game, we do focus tests throughout the second part of the game. Literally every week at one point, well, in the past 2 months, it's been every week. We get gamers to come and play, kind of guide our decisions sometimes on what we would change about the game, what we would do differently, or just tune the game. But that insight and the questions we asked after really help us think of okay, we didn't think about this on this game. We really need to address this on the next one. So the only proactive thing right now that's happening on our side that we control is the focus test. But publishers are definitely looking more and more into that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rue. And first of all, good round of applause.
Thank you.
And now I'd just like to invite everybody to stay for a couple of minutes afterwards. We're just going to have a little, some food, some wine, some beverages, and so forth, just to sit and talk. And thank you all very much for being a part of our first virtual broadcast. For those of you who are dialing in, please just send us your comments. We want to see what your impression was from the other end. So again, thank you very much for being here, and this has really been fascinating. Thank you.